So, I actually know you can't see me. um, but by the time I get to where I'm going, if I'm still talking, you'll be able to see me because the sun is going to be coming up. I wanted to talk about how law of attraction works and how wanting something and putting it out in the universe and then just letting it simmer um, is really like and luckily I've involved enough people in my journey, in my law of attraction journey, and what I wanted, um, to have enough kind of by example witnesses, people who can see what's happened to me, where just by example they see, like I asked for an opportunity to work with young horses, babies in particular, foals in particular, in need, rescue, uh, or somebody that got themselves kind of in over their heads and didn't realize how much work a baby would be, and they didn't want, to ruin it or whatever. Like, or, somebody passed away and, a foal was on its way or something like that. Like, I wanted kind of a hardship situation where I could help the foal that was going to be kind of a byproduct of a situation. So I happened to go on, and I kind of throw it out there, not only in the universe. Well, I need to go this way. Not only in the universe, but also in conversation with other people. I even posted kind of my desires to follow this path and create this mission. And, I was public about it. But I also had just like told people, this is really what I want to do. This is what I'm hoping to get to do, and not knowing where it was going to come from, but knowing what I wanted. So one day I was looking at, uh, and I've never done this before, I watched one of the bigger rescue operations go live at an auction house, and they walk through in the beginning and show you kind of all the horses that are going to be run through the auction while they're standing, in the pens, and just give you an idea what, so you can kind of, I guess part of why she does it is so that you can pick a horse you might want to bid on and get in touch with her before the actual auction and say, hey, hip number, whatever, I'm going to be interested in that horse, so be ready for me to, say yes or no when I see it move, kind of thing. Because when they're in the pens, you don't actually see them moving, so you don't know if they're sound or lame or have any kind of like major deformity or something. Anyway, so I watched that, and it was like within minutes of watching it, she goes into a stall that has this little pinto mare and a newborn baby. And based on veterinarian guesses, it was like maybe a week old. Okay. So I see that and I'm like, oh my God, like my heart just said, I want to help those two. I later on watched the auction so intently. I was not set up to be able to bid on anything. I don't think, maybe I could have just reached out and said, hey, when that mom and baby run through, I'm interested. She also came across a big Belgian who was known to be in foal, and I took an interest in that one, and I actually saw that one run through, but I never saw the little pinto and her baby run through. So I mean, literally, like my husband and I went out, and I have to get out and open my gate. And even like while I was out opening my gate, I have this thing playing in my phone, and like while I'm walking around, I'm watching it. right? I mean, that's how intently I was involved in this. Even though I didn't know how I was going to be a part of it, I still was intently watching it. Then, I feel like I watched the whole auction and decided, okay, I guess I missed them. And which would mean, obviously, somebody claimed them, whether they went, to auction, to the rescue or whatever. So I think it was the next day I saw that the people who were doing the live feed actually took those two home to their farm. So I contacted her and said, hey, what's the story on those two? And I know they took the Belgian mare, so I also expressed interest in the Belgian mare. And I was told that the mare and foal were already taken by another rescue, and that they were just going to be quarantined there, but they weren't hers to make any decisions. And she gave me the name. So I quickly wrote a little email thing and sent it saying I'd be interested, in those two, and even offered to do the quarantine myself because I wanted to get my hands on that foal as fast as I could to make sure that, it's groomed into a really nice little horse and easy to handle, because sometimes if they're left to their own devices next to their mom for too long, they become scared of humans and, without handling. So I reached out. I got no response, not even we'll be back in touch kind of thing. I got no response. And it was almost 2 months later. No, I'm sorry. Maybe it was a couple weeks later. I did finally get a response to, they're very sick. They're, going to be in quarantine for a while. And then, would ask me some questions about what my intentions were and telling me what they would like for the horse. Now, one of my stipulations were I did not want to sign any rescue contract that would require me to give them back or keep them. Like those were the options. And I actually, if baby stays little, because they're ponies, and he may be a horse, he may grow up to be a horse, we don't know what she was bred to. She is definitely a pony. But if he stays a pony and he can become kind of my next pony-sized teacher, I probably would look for a home for her. So I already knew that I was planning on potentially letting one of them go to another home. And I didn't want to sign any contract to the effect that I would have to go through the rescue in order to, separate them or whatever. So I don't think that appealed to the woman who I corresponded with, right, in the beginning stages. Then I kind of gave up on them and figured, all right, well, I'm not getting them, whatever. And I couldn't stop thinking about him. Like, I would go on her page, on the place, the quarantine facility, I'd go on their page and I'd look at him and I'd look at her and I'd be like, oh, and you could not tell right up until basically I read when somebody asked how tall she was, you could not tell that they were ponies, which is fine. It may have been a deterrent, although I still, even when I learned that they were ponies, I still took them. So there's spoiler alert. So about a month after that, the initial conversation, which made me feel like I really wasn't, left me feeling like I wasn't in the running, and I wasn't going to meet the criteria to satisfy this rescue. And I also said, I don't want to sign any contracts, to the effect of being part of a rescue. So we all kind of moved on. But again, I never stopped thinking about them, never stopped, wondering if they're going to be okay and who's going to get them and whatever. But In the meantime, I got called by somebody else, and they had a terminal illness situation, and I was being offered a mare that was in foal, and I was supposed to meet with the trainer, and that fell through because there was a race, because this was thoroughbred. Then I set it up again. That fell through again because of a race. And then I quit reaching out. Found out it was a colt, and I had said to myself, if it's a colt, chances are there's got to be somebody in the race connection with this trainer who was in charge of rehoming them. Somebody was going to want the colt if it was a colt. So when she told me it was a colt, I'm like, that deal's over. And, so I kind of moved on and went back to thinking about, how can I help with another, because that was a terminal illness. How can I help with another situation? And then all of a sudden, like, I found out my neighbor was sending her horse out to be bred, and then a woman that I started working for again told me that they were getting a yearling, and I'm like, yay, everybody's getting babies. I'm still going to get to play with babies, and maybe it'd be a win-win anyway because I'm not going to have to pay for anything for them, Like, I was thinking, like, this is going to be maybe even better because they're not my expense. However, it's the daily hands-on that makes an awesome horse. So there's still that, like, I can't shine the horse into the most shiny penny because I don't have them full time. So I would say maybe a month later, the rescue calls me or reaches out to me, they didn't call me, and says, Mom and baby are healthy. Are you still interested in helping them? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, like that they were definitely the two that I had the most interest in. The Belgian did have her foal, like, the next morning after she got to the quarantine, and the foal had kind of leg concerns. He did grow out of them, I guess, and they were able to, I don't know if he's going to be okay for his whole life, or if he still has some, I guess, healing to do. I'm not sure. I didn't really investigate too much into his story because he was purchased or whatever. So anyway, so I agree. We make arrangements. Mare and foal are delivered to my house. Now I have Daisy and Dewey. Love them, love them, love them. Okay, having a blast. Well, my neighbor's horse ended up not being able to be bred. And when I knew I was getting Daisy and Dewey, I had pointed out, hey, you want to go in on one of them? Because I'm going to be probably rehoming one of them. And she's like, yeah, I'm in. So we agreed she was in. And then when we realized that she's a pony, I'm like, oh, I got to give them an out because they were looking for, their next horse. And their next horse, being a pony, may not be what they were looking for. So I had to give them an out. And they never confirmed that they wanted out until, I don't know why, I watched another auction. Don't know why. Actually, no, I didn't watch the auction. I got back on the, the pre-thing, and amazingly, it was right before she entered a stall with 2 moms and 2 babies. And I really was attracted to the filly, who was about 5 months old. I quickly reached out to my neighbor and said, hey, remember I was going to let you out of taking, Daisy, but if you really wanted a baby and you're still in that line of thinking, there's this baby on this thing. That's actually not how that went. So I watched that and said, oh my God, so cute. But you could tell it was very skittish. It wouldn't let anybody get near it. And then I came back on later to the actual auction and watched like 1 or 2 horses. So then I asked, it was a live feed. So I asked, did the moms and babies run through yet? And somebody said yes. And I said, thank you. Then I noticed before I clicked off that I knew the person that said yes. So I said, hi, Janice. That was it. I didn't even wait to see if she said hi back. Just clicked out, and that was it. Went about my day. 10 o'clock that night, she texted me, hey, I saw you were on the live feed. She says, I pulled that paint mom in full. I actually only wanted one of them. She's old enough to be weaned. Are you interested in one of them? So I'm like, yeah. So I reached out to my neighbor and said, that's when I talked to my neighbor about it, and said, hey, we have this opportunity. I actually know who has the horse. It wouldn't be like through a rescue either, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, so my neighbor is picking her up tomorrow. She's been in quarantine for the last 2 weeks, and she's picking her up tomorrow. So it's just funny how, like, I watched something, like, at the right time, fell in love with something, like something, I was inspired to something. I was inspired to that mare in foal, and it was like destiny that I was going to get them. I watched again another time. Again, this is my second time ever going on an auction, and I know better now because I'll end up 50,000 horses. But I watched again, and right when I tuned in, there's 2 moms and babies. And then turns out that yes, they did get run through, which meant somebody got them. And I was thinking I'll check later if they came in on, if they went into the quarantine facility, or if somebody else got them. And when I picked up my phone to do that, the next morning, I noticed that I had been texted at 10 something at night, letting me know that she got them. I just, like, that stuff doesn't just happen. I'm sorry. Like, so, and now, like I said, I have people who have been watching kind of the evolution of me saying I want this, and then it happening, and then the evolution of me saying I want this, and then it happening. So I've been wanting somebody to work in my barn, right? I've been wanting help in the barn. I've been wanting, like, I used to have boarders that would work off some of their board, and I don't have boarders anymore, so, like, that opportunity wouldn't even present itself. And when we discussed my neighbor's new foal and the amount of training that foal will need to go through, it was agreed that they wanted a way to help them afford that. And now the daughter is doing my stalls 4 days a week. So, like, so you got that. I wanted an opportunity to work with horses and make an impact, as well as kind of a name for myself through working with different horses. And I wanted kind of a clinic style relationship where, like, I come and the horse is there ready to be worked with. Like, I personally don't have to go out to a paddock or to a stall and collect the horse and then have this private session, just me and the horse, and then put the horse back and leave. And it seemed like the 2 other times that I had like a clinic style relationship, which both of those I requested through the universe and got them, they both evolved from that environment where it was like I came and somebody would walk in another horse. We would work with that horse, and then they would take the horse away, and then somebody would walk in with another horse. And that's how that had gone. And then each of those evolved into, he's in turnout, do you mind just getting him? Or he's in his stall, do you mind just getting him? Or she's not going to be here, but she did want you to work with him. Do you mind working with him without any, so it started to turn into, I was working with horses, just me and the horse. And how weird is that? Because originally, when I started my idea of running a business of training, I didn't want to work with people at all. Like, I just don't have the people skills that make that a good thing and enjoyable for either of us. And I found myself in these situations where it was just me and the horse. I basically went to somebody's barn, got a horse from its stall or from its turnout, worked with the horse alone, and then put the horse back in its stall or its turnout. 20 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, that's how I want to do this. Now that I've evolved into working with people and feeling like I've actually kind of gotten good at it, now the idea that the people weren't there made it feel like I was not using all of my talents, and I was finding myself feeling depleted or half accomplished, maybe. Yeah, I was doing the work with the horses and I was enjoying doing the work with the horses, but there was even a part of it that just kind of felt like a chore more than experiencing a passion. I mean, I was loving doing the stuff that I was making, having these horses do with me, but in the same sense, it was kind of, it went from looking forward to being in the presence of people and the horses to just going and, grabbing a horse from the turnout, spending time with them, and then putting them back. So anyway, I wanted an environment like that again, where it was going to be I come and you plans on me working with your horse are there at the ready, and we're going to work together. And when I leave, you do whatever you need to do with your horse, put him back, brush him, whatever. I don't need to be a part of that. I also wanted something that was going to be kind of like help me develop me in the sense of the public eye. Like, I'm new to the area. I don't really have a way to get out there and put myself out there too much. And I was warned when I first moved here, don't be fooled by how nice people are, because they're really not as nice as they're pretending to be when they were all like, hey, welcome, welcome, I haven't really found the truth in that person's warning too much, but I have found the come join us hasn't really been as much as it appeared it was going to be. But what cooler way to be in the public eye than to be asked to be the trainer to the horses for the Ocean City Mounted Police. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I go to my first session today. Yes.